Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another figure review. Next up is the Hasbro Power Rangers Lightning Collection Mighty Morphin Eye Guy. This is one of the final releases in the Monster subline. It is transitioning into a deluxe line, but here we also had the Pudgy Pig, which got a regular retail release, aside from the PulseCon exclusive, which still hasn't released in the United States. So Pudgy Pig, Eye Guy are the last official monsters, again, subline of the Power Rangers Lightning Collection before the deluxe takes over. But here we have this guy. He is new. I know Dorkside Toys did get some orders out and shipped, and then Target. It's been showing up on the East Coast, and then online. If you click the notify me when it becomes available, I was able to get an order in, and it sells out really quickly. And some stores get it, and I think mine shipped from a store, not even from one of the Target distribution centers or anything like that. So he's making his way around, just like Pudgy Pig is slowly making his way into Target stores. So hopefully you guys will be able to get one, or if you have pre-orders other places, it's probably going to be shipping out really soon. But this guy is big. He's beefy. He is a heavy package. Not as big as like the Pudgy Pig, which had a super wide package in his box. Like if you look at the width of these two, it's kind of... it's a big difference. So Eye Guy, a lot heavier than I thought. So he's bigger than I would have thought too. And I keep forgetting these are a 7-inch scale. They're not the 6-inch scale like the Rangers. But pretty cool artwork there by Tom Whalen. As you can see, Eye Guy, and it kind of wraps around to the other side. So that is pretty cool. We get the same artwork there that's on the front. Whoops. Back of the package, we get a 3D render, digital render of Eye Guy with his weapon. And I have to watch. I actually don't really remember this monster so much from the show. I don't think I had the toy of him. I remember having like the Beetle with the guitar, like the Rockstar Beetle guy. Pumpkin Rapper was very memorable. Pudgy Pig, of course. Even King Sphinx. But Eye Guy, for whatever reason, I'm just not really remembering him as much. So what I'm actually going to do is go back, watch a clip, and see how corny of a monster he was in the show, and we'll kind of see. But the figure looks awesome in the package, so let's go ahead and get them out, and let's find out a little bit more about Eye Guy. Okay, so here is Eye Guy out of the package. I am reshooting a clip because I just went on 3 minutes and did a bunch of complaining, and I feel like I'm taking way too much time to get a point across, and really complaining about the figure when there's still a lot of good things. So to kind of summarize it, too much white plastic. It's a really hard like PVC with no paint apps in the torso, but like the hands, the head, and looks like some areas on the legs and the arms and stuff, we do get some shading and stuff to make the figure look really good. The show was almost 30 years ago. It was very dark, and some of that's going to be on the quality of video. And King Sphinx, I kind of gave it a pass, like, oh, it's old footage. This is probably the color that the suit really would have been. Same with Pumpkin Rapper, because people are saying there's not enough shading and this and that. It's too bright. Eye Guy definitely is suffering where, they did it right on the hands, where you can see the hands are a darker color because they put shading in there. The head sculpt is a darker color around the mouth, so they put shading in there. They should have done that throughout the entire figure. Even like the floating eye thing, this has all that shading color to it, but the torso doesn't, and it really hurts the figure, which would otherwise be fantastic. The sculpt is incredible. I mean, there's eyes sculpted everywhere. There's eyelids that are half open everywhere. This thing is done really, really nicely. It's just the lack of paint apps really, really hurts it. But let's get in for a closer look to look at the cool details and things that are here and present on the figure. Okay, so here's an up-close look at Eye Guy. And again, the details of this thing are crazy, but notice the super bright white here of the torso, and then the softer plastic head where we get some nice shading throughout, so it's not just this flat white color. The eyes are, but that does look pretty good. I wish the whole figure would have had this shading treatment throughout, like even if they didn't do it on the back, whereas we don't typically get paint on the back of figures. We do get some here, but they got to paint in the eyes, and they're not painting in all of them, right? They kind of go sporadic, and they pick and choose where they're gonna do it. Like even on the legs, we don't get it everywhere. Here on the torso, we don't give it everywhere. Here, the inside of the arms, we don't get it. So I get that. It would have been nice if every single one was painted, but it is what it is. There's not any detail. They're literally just brown circles. couple of different shades of darker brown and then a lighter brown. We get a couple pupils on only kind of the larger eyes, and that's it. So it feels a little lazy, but the biggest thing is just the white plastic. I mean, it's so jarring seeing it on his head, around his mouth here, and then to go to none of the shading. Even the arms, it almost looks like not I don't know, the arms and the legs, maybe it's just the different plastic material that's used, but they don't look as bright white as the hard plastic of the torso. I mean, it's a super hard plastic, and it hurts the overall look because it's just too bright, whereas this just looks so good. The hands look really good. I just, man, really wish the figure would have. And again, the floating eye, look at the color difference. If the torso was this color, it would be perfect, or better at least, but unfortunately it's not. But anyway, looking at his mouth, it's kind of crazy in here how all of this is engineered. We got a separate piece here. This head is a separate piece. This eyelid is a separate piece. Oh, it does close. That's the first time I did that, by the way. So that is pretty damn cool. And you can see they did some shading. They didn't do the whole eyelid. But that is pretty damn cool. See, there's so many cool things to this figure. Just do the shading, Hasbro. Damn it. But really cool. The eye is articulated. It moves around in there, but it's kind of hard to move around. So you see we have this white cover around the eye. You can see the little indented spaces in there. That's so you can kind of get your fingers in there to remove this cover on his eye. See, the eye just wants to kind of move around. Maybe you got to do both fingers in there at the same time. It's kind of hard and pain in the ass, but you can remove the cover, and you have this effect piece here that ports right into that eye. So you could just go like so, and there, and he's got like doing the little blast thing. I don't know, he sucks like kids into his soul or something. I don't know what it was. But we get this green color. In the show it was more of a light blue, but the green still looks pretty good. But here I could show you a little bit better the articulation of that eye. You can really move it around, whether you're going up or down or to the side. So pretty crazy range of motion in that eye. So that is really cool. I actually really like the way this, it works. It could kind of clip on there, because when the cover is on, it does look like a shiny eye, because an eye would be, it's got some fluid in there, it's wet or whatever, and that looks really good. So I really like that. Looking at the rest of it, the sculpt is nice. We get these nice wrinkles throughout, like on his feet, like on the knee, and then some areas of the body. It just looks really good. But I mean, even the half eyelid ones look really good. It's just, it gets lost in there because there's no like paint detail or anything to really bring out like those eyelids. But the sculpt is amazing. It's done really, really nice. Really, really nice. Looking at the accessories, so he has like two open hands. This one seems like more of a holding hand, but he doesn't really have anything to hold. And then he does come with two fists. So we have fist for him. We have that effect eye attachment piece, and then we get this floating eye. And I don't know if his body comes from the eye. I don't remember that so much, or seeing that in the show as much, but we kind of get the same eye in there. It doesn't move around like on the one that's on the figure, but the same thing here. You can remove this cover for the eye. It's hard to like get your fingers in there, and then you could do this effect piece. So you could have this kind of showing for when he's like trapping kids in his soul or whatever. So that is really cool. But this one sculpted nicely as well. But the color is what I really like, because it actually has some, shading to the color and everything. Comes on this stand. I'm trying to see if the stand... yes, the stand can be removed. As you can see, it's actually on a ball peg there, so that's pretty cool. And then you can get the effect piece. There's a ball joint right there, because it's going to port right into the front. So if you can do something where it's floating and hide the stand, or you could just maybe edit the stand out in some photography that some people will do, you can kind of give it that floating effect, because it actually floats. So that is pretty cool. So we could just pop that right back in. It pops in there. So there he is. But let's check out his articulation, which is decent. They did some cool things that unfortunately don't really work as well. So let's check that out. Wait a second. I didn't notice this, but look at the effect piece. There are eyeballs in this effect piece. How freaking cool is that? That is awesome. That's like the largest one there. That is pretty damn cool. There's another one right there. There's one right there. Man, that's cool. Oh, look at that. Another one even on the back. There's a couple of them on the back. There. That is too cool. That is awesome. See, this is the kind of cool stuff that Hasbro can do, but then they just waste it when they do shit paint. But man, that's cool. I really like that. Okay, so eye guy's articulation. The head isn't going to swivel or anything, but again, you can you can adjust that eye around to look, to the side, to look up, to look down a little bit. It's a little bit trickier, trying to use your finger and move that ball that's around in there, but it can be done. So that is really cool. The torso, there's no ab crunch on him. There's no diaphragm joint, like we usually would see with all Power Rangers figures. This guy has no torso articulation, but does have a ball joint at the waist, which is at least something. It's better than just like a swivel, because you get something. So he can actually tilt to his left this much. It's not a lot, but it's something. He can tilt to his right that much. Again, not a lot, but at least he doesn't just have just a swivel. Back, not really. Forward, not really. And then you do have a swivel at that ball joint there. So he's lacking in that sense. They did give him butterfly joints, which I thought was odd, because look at the torso. I mean, what was the point of that? So you could see the butterfly joints in there, but like, why? Because we're not getting like anything. There's no like, he doesn't, it's not really going back or forward. It's just in there just because. Like, they could have just not done that and it would have been just the same. So you can get the shoulders to go out basically straight out. Full rotation is going to be kind of hard because of the way this other eye is, like on that horn type of thing. You can do it. It's just kind of wonky. Swivel at the elbow with a single jointed elbow, so it's actually less than 90 degrees. So that sucks that we didn't even get double jointed elbows, but I think double jointed elbows on a sculpt like this would have been really tough to do. We have a upper thigh cut in there, a double jointed knee though, at least. Let's get that bend, so you get that much bend at the knee. No calf swivel or anything like that. Foot hinges down, hinges up barely. Ankle pivot, pegals at the bottom of the feet, not the best pivot in there. And then let's see, the ankle ball that's in there, looks like there's if there's a swivel on the foot. No, the ankle does not swivel. Looks like, there's that separate ankle ball piece, but it does not swivel. And then legs go out this far apart, so you can do the splits actually. That's kind of interesting. So we get some familiar points of articulation, but then we get some unnecessary ones or just lack of, which sucks. The sculpt is nice, and it's hard to say for sure, with the sculpt, if they could have added in some of those other points of articulation, like a better butterfly joint, probably would have been tough. I don't know. That's not my area of expertise on sculpting and whatnot. Double jointed elbow, I don't know if they could have pulled that off either. But man, amazing sculpt, terrible lack of paint. Okay, so here are our monsters. So regardless of, I guess, how they come out, obviously we want the best figure that we could possibly get. And there are shortcuts. There are things that are missing that we wish they would have done, namely in the paint department. Whereas Pudgy Pig, I mean, I don't know what additional paint you could have done for him. He's definitely the best out of the four. Pumpkin Wrapper is still really good, in my opinion. King Sphinx, not terrible. The wings are all horrible. They're terrible. Eye Guy is cool but lacking. But one thing I think to think about is Bandai. Did they really do a whole lot of villains? Not in like a fully articulated figure. They sure as hell didn't, and that sucks. And I don't know. I don't understand why they wouldn't have. When the original toy line in 1993 or whenever it was. We got a bunch of villains. They were pumping them out, but it seemed like over the years they just weren't. You look at Legacy Collection, they were just doing Rangers. There really weren't any villains other than the Psycho Rangers. figure arts. You know, they did the Rangers. Did they do any villains? It just seems kind of odd that they wouldn't do that. So at least with the Lightning collection, we're getting villains. They're bigger, then that sucks, but there's a lot of sculpted detail in there that's pretty awesome. You know, if we can get more paint apps on these figures, it would just blow other toy lines away, and I wish they would do that. But the sculpts truly are amazing. You guys let me know in the comments below what you think of the sculpts and which of the monsters released so far is your favorite. And I think we have another villain coming up. Is it Pronta's Head, I think is the name? I really don't even remember that villain. But you know, that one does look really good. The sculpt looks amazing, but I think he's going to kind of have the suffer from the same thing of the paint details on him, where he looks very bright in color, but should he be a little toned down, a little bit darker, maybe benefit from a wash or some additional shading. We'll see when that figure comes out. But you guys let me know in the comments below what you think of the monsters and which is your favorite amongst these four. Okay, for size comparisons, he's huge. Here he is next to Goldar, way too big, and here he is next to Billy, the Blue Ranger. So we know that the scale with the monsters figures being 7-inch sounds great on paper. A bigger monster, it's a bigger figure. What's there not to love? But then when you compare them to the Rangers, it's like, well, that's where it is. They don't match up in size to how it was in the TV show. It's cool that they're big monsters and everything like that, and it makes for a cool action figure, but I think this highlights that scale is important, and not that Hasbro's ever been really the greatest when it comes to scale, but scale could really go a long way when it comes to action figures and how these action figures look. There's things that photographers and things can do to kind of hide the fact that one figure is much larger than the other. But it sucks to kind of have to worry about that, if that makes sense. Like, you would hope that you can set up a scene and it's just kind of ready to go without having to use camera tricks and things like that. That's not really always going to be the case or anything like that. But, that's like the hope, right? That's what you kind of hope for. But it is what it is, but still a really cool figure, and I do think it is worth picking up. I know there's some talented individuals that can do their own customizing and could add like a wash or add in the shading that would be necessary to help bring out the details of the figure and make him stand out a little bit more. But as is, I do still think that it is a really cool figure, and I am happy to have it, bring on more monsters. I'm glad that we are getting monsters in the first place, so that is really cool. But we'll see. I don't know if Hasbro will ever at this point adjust the scale back down, because how do they do that now after releasing 4 figures and a 5th one already planned and revealed, to say, oh, you know what, we hear you, let's get them back to the Ranger size. I think that's going to be tough, because then these figures will be like, well, what the hell are we going to do with these monsters? But you guys let me know what you guys would think about that in the comments below. But I think Guy is cool. You let me know, is it still something that you want to pick up? Let me know in the comments below. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching.